If you are a trainee behavior analyst with a goal of finishing your fieldwork under the 2022 BACB rules, now is the time to power it out, making sure you finish all of the requirements by the end of 2026 before the fieldwork requirements switch over to the 2027 procedures. My name is Esther. As a supervising BCBA licensed in 7 states, I understand that the process can be daunting and confusing. I provide remote supervision with a mentorship approach that includes training and curriculum and 3 ABA subspecialties. I currently have a few openings for supervision, but before I get into that, I want to answer a few common questions. Becoming board certified as a behavior analyst is a complex process. You already know that the Behavior Analyst Certification Board requires 3 major components. The first is the graduate level academic work, requiring a specific sequence of coursework. You have to start this step before you can begin the next one. The second component is the fieldwork process, which involves 2,000 hours of practical work in the field under the supervision of a qualified board certified behavior analyst, a BCBA. The final component is the big exam. For many people, the most confusing part of the process is the fieldwork. So hopefully I can help clear up some of the confusion here. First, I want to talk about the rules change and how it impacts the fieldwork process. If you started your fieldwork under the 2022 procedures, your fieldwork needs to be completed and your application submitted by the end of 2026. As of January 2027, fieldwork completed under the 2022 rules will not be able to be used. That means that if you are currently completing fieldwork and aren't sure if you will finish by the end of 2026, you should be meeting the 2027 requirements and getting the 2027 monthly verification form filled out and signed by your supervisor. It is possible to meet the requirements for both the 2022 and 2027 rules each month, and if you do, you will need to have both the 22 and 27 verification forms signed each month. If you have less than half of your fieldwork done by now, I recommend focusing on the 2027 requirements. But if you have half or more of your fieldwork completed, it is probably worth trying to wrap up your fieldwork under the 2022 rules, as long as your coursework will also be completed by the end of the year. Getting concentrated fieldwork supervision can be a way to speed up your fieldwork time. So especially if you are trying to finish your fieldwork by the end of 2026, concentrated supervision is something to consider. But this leads us to the next question many people have. How does concentrated supervision work? And can some fieldwork be done on the regular schedule and some is concentrated? Yes, some months of fieldwork can be done concentrated and some months on the regular schedule. It's all about the amount of supervision you receive during the month. Under the 2022 requirements, this is quantified by the number of meetings you have with your supervisor. Regular supervision is at least 4 meetings a month, while concentrated supervision is at least 6 meetings a month. Under the 2027 requirements, this changes. The number of meetings is not the factor. It's the amount of time of observation with the client each month. 60 minutes for regular and 90 minutes for concentrated. Each hour of concentrated fieldwork is worth 1.33 hours of regular supervised fieldwork, so you can shorten the amount of time it takes to complete the total fieldwork requirements by completing some or all of your fieldwork as concentrated. If all of your hours are regular supervision, you will accrue 2,000 hours. If you complete all of your fieldwork hours as concentrated, the actual amount of time you are accruing for fieldwork is 1,500 hours. If you are combining regular and concentrated months, it will require some math to calculate, but it will be less than the 2,000 hours. Another area of confusion around fieldwork is around remote supervision. Supervision can be done in person or remotely. Meetings can be in person or on the phone or over a video meeting. Observations of client contacts can be conducted live in person or video recorded for supervision. Remote supervision works better in some subspecialties of ABA than in others, but it can be used for all subspecialties as long as a supervisor is qualified to provide supervision through competency, certification, and jurisdictional licensing requirements. A remote supervisor is usually hired directly by the trainee. They should customize their supervision to meet the needs of the trainees they supervise. Another area of confusion around fieldwork is around remote supervision. Supervision can be done in person or remotely. Meetings can be in person or on the phone or over a video meeting. Observations of client contacts can be conducted live in person or video recorded for supervision. Remote supervision works better in some subspecialties of ABA than in others, but it can be used for all subspecialties as long as a supervisor is qualified to provide supervision through competency, certification, and jurisdictional licensing requirements. A remote supervisor is usually hired directly by the trainee. They should customize their supervision to meet the needs of the trainees they supervise. By far, the biggest confusion about fieldwork that I hear about is around the restricted and unrestricted fieldwork percentage requirements. Restricted fieldwork can be essentially described as the direct delivery of behavior analytics services to a client. The maximum amount of restricted fieldwork is 40%. 60% or more of your fieldwork time needs to be on unrestricted tasks. These are the behavior analytic tasks other than direct delivery of services. And they can vary depending on the subspecialty of the ABA practice that you're working in. And these tasks include things like intervention planning, conducting indirect assessments, data interpretation and graphing, and training staff or parents for implementation fidelity. The percentage of restricted and unrestricted requirements are cumulative. It isn't monthly. You can exceed 40% restricted fieldwork in any given month, but overall, that is the maximum. And that means that you should stop logging or including restricted fieldwork after you reach 800 hours of restricted fieldwork under the regular schedule. If you record more than 800 hours of restricted fieldwork, you still have to reach the 60% or more of unrestricted fieldwork, which means that in order to get to that percentage of 60% of unrestricted fieldwork, you will need to accrue more than 2,000 hours total, and your fieldwork will take you longer to complete. If you are completing all of your fieldwork under the concentrated schedule, that means the maximum amount of restricted fieldwork that you can accrue is 600 hours, or you will need to exceed the 1,500 hours total for concentrated fieldwork. There is no maximum for unrestricted fieldwork. You could end up with 98% unrestricted fieldwork and 2% of restricted fieldwork, and that would be fine. The requirement only goes one way. The math for this can be confusing, especially if you have a combination of regular and concentrated supervision months. So it can be valuable to go through this in your own situation with an experienced supervisor. The discussion of unrestricted and restricted supervision percentage often leads to how to identify appropriate unrestricted fieldwork opportunities. A good supervisor makes all of the difference here because it is the supervisor who is responsible for interpreting the board guidelines and identifying tasks that qualify as unrestricted. A good supervisor will provide lots of opportunities to train on the skills that make up unrestricted fieldwork. This is where I come back to what I have to offer. As a BCBA and licensed behavior analyst, I provide behavior analytics services to clients and supervision to trainees. My specialties are behavior analysis and education, organizational behavior management, and clinical behavior analysis. I have a full curriculum of over 150 trainings to support the individuals I supervise to build strong competencies and accrue unrestricted fieldwork. I customize the supervision experience for each individual to meet their individual goals and needs. Supervision meetings are held as video meetings. Most months include opportunities for group supervision meetings in addition to their individual meetings. All of the trainings are linked to the BACB Code of Ethics and Test Content Outline. As a part of the support I provide, I also include exam preparation materials. Right now, I have opportunities for individuals accruing fieldwork under the 2022 requirements who have already completed at least 750 fieldwork hours and have a goal of completing their fieldwork by the end of 2026. I also have openings for individuals working to complete their fieldwork under the 2027 requirements. And for those under the 2027 requirements, I have openings for individuals just starting out or who've already accrued any amount of fieldwork. I offer a complimentary video meeting for individuals interested in supervision. For more information on my practice or the supervision experience that I provide, including my fees, check out my website, peaceprof.com. That's peaceprof.com, or email me at esther@peaceprof.com.